Hey, everybody, we are talking about turning conversations into business intelligence with CallCabinet today. A fascinating conversation. Ryan, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Evan. How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks very much. Hope the weather down in sunny Florida is treating you well. It's getting chilly up in Boston. Really excited for this topic. I've been in telecom and enterprise tech for my whole career, and so I've followed you guys for some time. Maybe introduce yourself and Call Cabinet. What's your mission and a little bit about the founding story?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Ryan Kahan. I'm the CEO and one of the founders of CallCabinet. We founded CallCabinet, oh wow, I think this is our 11th, in about 10th year or our 11th year in business. And we really founded it to migrate the call recording industry, which at the time, doesn't seem that long ago, but at the time, everything was on-prem. No one was even talking about the cloud. It was really with a vision to move the call recording industry into the future, to move it into the cloud, and to assist customers who at the time just starting with their migration to the cloud on the regular computing systems to help them migrate their telephony systems into the cloud.
Well, it's been a long mission, but you've had a lot of success along the way. Let's talk about that. When I was involved in call recording many years ago, gosh, a couple decades ago, it was all about TDM and telephony interfaces and hardware. That was pretty much what call recording did. It was a tape recorder. It's come a long way. So why is call recording and how has it become more kind of strategic with, data insights and business intelligence and all kinds of interesting opportunities generated
Yeah.
from that data?
So it's been an interesting ride. Like you, I started in this industry when people used to have to listen for a beeping tape deck in the back of the IT room and switch out a cassette every hour. That then migrated to recording cards, or cards that would fit into computers and then allow connectivity to the PBX to digitally record the data onto hard drives. And then obviously the migration into the cloud, which was taking that data and storing it in secure and compliant formats, globally, to ensure data sovereignty and compliance for the customers. Then I guess at some point in time, we woke up and said, hey, we're recording all this data mainly for compliance purposes because somebody said, hey, you have to record the data. How do we
Hmm.
actually give value to the customers so that this doesn't become a grudge purchase anymore? Because, hey, some governing body told me I have to do this and I have to spend this money, to how do we really get value from that data and what do we do with the data that we have? And obviously then we started with text to speech, which then morphed into speech analytics, starting to get flagging of certain calls, getting sentiment analysis, multiple language support, to really use business intelligence tools to start working out what's actually going on in the business. So somewhere in the middle, we did a lot of quality assurance. I mean, we still do. And quality assurance in the early days was all about listening to a small subset of calls. So you'd have a contact center, maybe with 100 people in it, 1,000 people, and contact center supervisors who would have 10 contact center agents underneath them. And they would be tasked with listening to 1%, 2% of calls and trying to give some kind of constructive feedback. Skip
Hmm.
forward a few years, we're listening to 100% of calls. We are grading and scoring the calls without the contact center supervisor having to be involved in that process. We're literally saying, here's a call, and we look at it from a number of different reasons. We look at it from a compliance perspective. Did the agent inform the person that this call was being recorded? If that's an issue. Before, we knew 2% of an agent's calls, whether it was done and hoped, hoped and prayed that they were doing it for all calls. Now we know. Now we can spit out those reports in seconds to the company and say, hey, you may have a compliance issue in this specific area. Or we can, we look at the customer experience of a call. How happy or not happy is a customer on a call? In the early days, that was about scanning for certain keywords in a call, so listening to and saying, hey, the customer said the word hate, so that's negative, so that must be a negative call. But when you start digging deeper in a call, there's different types of calls that may use that word or that phrase that have very different business outcomes. So to give you an example, let's say I phone into your business and I say, hey, Evan, how was your day? What's happening? Everything's wonderful here in Florida. And by the end of that call, I'm saying to you, Evan, I hate you guys. You're terrible. Like, I don't want to speak to you anymore. And I put down the phone, right? Now, turn that exact same call around. I phone in and I say, Evan, I hate you guys. You're terrible. But at the end of the call, I'm saying, you guys, Evan, thank you so much. This was great. So it's an improving call versus a worsening call. Same words, different maybe speed of speaking, different sentiment, different emotion, but the same words, two very different calls that need to be, reviewed or looked at for the business. So it's really helping the businesses keep a pulse on their customer interactions, their agent performance, and then training those customers. So if we get a call and the agent wasn't scored very well on the call, let's say the agent gets a 60% review or score on that call, we then use AI and additional analytics or AI tools to then advise the agent what they could have done better and to pass training information through to that specific agent. So we can say, hey, you didn't do this really well. Consider using these kind of words. Consider doing that. And we do that in milliseconds. And then bringing that all back and giving the agent that feedback, letting the agent interact back to the system to say, I agree, I disagree. I've done the training that you gave me to do as a result of this. So there's all of those, things that can be done and that we're doing on a daily basis now. So very different from the days of the tape deck in the back of the IT closet.
Yeah, I needed some catching up. So I guess the buzzword is conversational analytics. And you're saying all of this AI and machine learning technology is applicable today
Absolutely.
in your current software. Well, what's next then? Because that sounds pretty bleeding edge as far as, the voice analytics.
Right. So for us, the major focus over the last year has been two things. Number one, making sure that we integrate with every platform that is out there and available to be recorded. And the reason for that is we found, especially post-COVID, many companies are recording many different things. It's very, you know, uh, rare that you find an enterprise customer that says, hey, we're a Teams house, or we're an Avaya house, or we're a Cisco house. They all use a multitude of systems in different departments within the organization. So how do they, make sure that they have one platform that can record everything? And it may not be something that they have today. It may be something that they move to next week. Maybe they've got a legacy PBX that they need to record for the next year, but they have plans on migrating and they haven't even decided yet which platform they're going to go to. They need a solution that can work with them across all their platforms, even if it's some of those old T1 and analog lines that are still left lurking in some businesses. We can record all of that for them. So integrations was really key for this, for this year, and then enhancing our analytics and AI team. So there's a lot of new work that we are doing around enhancing that interaction and getting more and more business value for our customers from the data that we store. And then finally, bringing all of that together in a secure, compliant, and global manner. And why I say that is if you consider an organization, they want to be able to see all the data that is stored across all the telephony or platforms that they use. They want to see it in a single pane of glass view, and they want to see it in a format that meets their data sovereignty requirements. So they want to know that the calls that are recorded in Germany are in Germany, the ones that are recorded in the UK are in the UK, but everything through one interface where they don't have to go and keep switching through different interfaces and different IP addresses to try and get access to their, to their data.
Well, fantastic approach. And talk about, you mentioned in passing regulatory challenges, compliance that you help with. I mean, we all know things like GDPR and HIPAA, and there's so many more. How do you help customers navigate that whole landscape?
So we do it by ensuring that they are compliant for all the different regulations, and like you mentioned, some that maybe relate only to the US and some that relate maybe only to the UK. But we make sure that we meet all those requirement challenges for them. But also, not only that, allow them to store that data where they need it. So we are making sure that they have all the boxes checked about where their data is, that the data is secured, that it's in a format that's easily accessible, with the right security controls, with the right audit trails, logging, history, to really allow them the peace of mind. Because as you're aware, the fines that they could face from not having the data in the correct format or stored in the correct
Mm.
location, it could be tens of millions of dollars for some of our larger customers. And that's why that is so important.
Yeah, we've seen even into the billion-dollar fines for, non-compliance in financial institutions. It's been pretty wild out
Absolutely.
there. And speaking of that, I mean, different industries, I assume you work across many different industries or verticals. Do you have any sort of sweet spots? I imagine regulated industries are pretty big.
Right. We do a lot of work with obviously banking and finance,
Mhm.
healthcare, energy. We have literally, thousands, tens of thousands of customers that pretty much, cover every vertical. But a lot of our larger customers are certainly in that banking, insurance, finance, healthcare kind of realm.
Oh, fantastic. Um, what about implementation? I mean, how does that work? I mean, traditionally, there have been lots of integration challenges deploying into every network. What's your best practice there?
Yeah, so it obviously depends on the type of system. Most of
Mm.
the larger systems can be deployed within minutes. So those
Wow.
those
Okay.
days of long deployment cycles and huge fees and project management things to deploy are not are a thing of the past. What we help customers with is understanding how to record, and that's especially for enterprise customers. That's really key. How do you plan how to record, and who has access to those recordings, and who has access to your data? So let me give you an example. We have probably hundreds of combinations of ways that you could record Microsoft Teams calls as an enterprise. The basic
Mm.
ones: record everything that comes in, record only when someone pushes record, give the agent the ability to stop recording, record only when there's a customer on the call, record only when it's a Teams meeting that has the word record in the subject line. Like, literally, there are so many different recording methodologies, and each one of those methodologies may be different by department. So the HR department may have a very different recording requirement to what the sales department does, to what payroll does. And how do you make sure that you have one system that can cater for all those different methodologies in an easy way that the customer can manage themselves, can control the flow of calls, when they're recorded, how they're recorded, and when they're stored. And then, more than that, managing how to get access to those calls. So no
Mm.
customer wants to have to manage a bunch of users in the recording system when they already manage those users, say, in Active Directory. And this is very much the case with the larger customers. With the 10,000 plus seat customers, they're not interested. They want to know that if they've got a group in Active Directory and that group of users has access to ABC, that all that they have to do is worry about making sure that the Active Directory group is correct and that the system mirrors what's in that group, so that they're not managing data in multiple places. So it's not so much about the connection; it's more about guiding our customers in what are best practices and how to make their lives easier with the recording system that they have. And then, just to answer your question, literally, if you came to me and said, "Hey, Ryan, I represent XYZ Bank, and I've got 10,000 seats I need to record. How long would it take you to get everything up and running?" My answer to you is, we can do it in the next 30 minutes. Our systems are true cloud-based, which means that they are not virtual machines in the cloud, but actually using the latest cloud technologies that scale automatically based on demand. So we don't need to go and deploy servers in the cloud to cater for an
Mm.
individual customer. We don't need to scale up demand. The system will recognize all of that on its own and do what it needs to do. So very quickly, we will just have the system say, "Hey, we see load, we need to add more resources to the specific environment, and you can be up and running in 30 minutes."
Oh, fantastic pitch. And talk about some of the technology partnerships you've developed. You seem to be working with who's who out there. You mentioned Microsoft, there's Zoom. How do you go to market exactly with these partners and or side by side?
So we work closely with all of the partners, and we're very much a channel focused business. So we work a lot
Mm,
through our channel, and each channel has their own focus with regards to the products that they sell. But yeah, I'd go as far as to say we pretty much cover everything these days. So whether it's any flavor of Cisco, from WebEx
mm,
calling to UCCX or UCCM or whatever it is that they're using, all different types of Teams deployments. Ring Central, Avaya, Zoom, you name it. We pretty much have it covered.
oh, fantastic. And on the competitive landscape, I mean, there are lots of very, very small mom and pop recording solutions. There's some homegrown technology. There are a couple, big players out there. How do you see this competitive landscape these days and your role in it?
I think it's getting a little easier for us.
Mhm.
The challenge. Let's go back a bit. 10 years ago or 11 years ago, when we started on this journey, the challenge was convincing people to put their data in the cloud. Um,
Mm,
and not only put in the cloud, did they have the bandwidth to even upload the recordings? We forget how far we've come in 10 years. So the earlier versions of our recorders, which were on-prem recorders pushing data up to the cloud, you could
mm,
schedule when you wanted the data uploaded. So you could say only do it after 5 p.m. because that's when it's a slow time and our bandwidth is available. Um, those challenges have fallen away, and now it's very much more security challenges. The getting the customer to say yes is the easy part. Then you've got to go through the security audits with the customers and their security teams, and those are getting far more complex than they've ever been before, right? So making sure that you're insured correctly, making sure that you have the correct certifications. Like for example, we're ISO 27001 certified.
mm,
That stuff is critically important because ultimately we are custodians of our customers' data. And the reason I'm saying that is it sort of takes a lot of the smaller players out of the picture when you're talking about enterprise recording or large customers. They simply cannot take the risk of dealing with the unknown of where's the data stored, what formats it's stored, how's it stored. You look at a recording. A lot of people will assume that if I take this recording and I put it in a Azure, storage account, or I put it into a
mm,
S3 bucket somewhere, that S3 bucket's encrypted, so therefore my data is encrypted and I'm good. We don't believe that that's the case. We
mm,
encrypt every single recording with its own unique 250-bit encryption key that is specific to that recording and to that customer. So even if that was intercepted, I could literally take a customer's recording file and give it to you, and there's no way you could do anything with it. And even if by some miracle you manage to break the encryption on that one file, it would take you, I don't know, 20 years to do. It doesn't give you any insight into how to decrypt any of the other calls. So security has been paramount for us, and I think that's helped us get over a lot of the hurdles that have been put in our way. And I think that today that's probably the biggest challenge for our competitors is the security element and aspect of what we do. And then obviously we've been doing this for 10 or 11 years, so our product is far more mature than most of our competitors who've only come onto the market in the last year or two. So the vast majority of them were sort of with Teams recording, were forced to build a cloud-based solution, but the features are just not there. We had 10 years of adding features for enterprise customers, that are in our system. So things like security controls and policies and the ability to share calls in certain ways, to record and playback screen video and Teams video and Zoom video, and all of that stuff is all built in. Not because we're better than anyone else, just because we've had a lot more time to do it.
well, fantastic approach and congratulations. That's no small task on the data security and privacy front. So you've done a lot, you've seen a lot. What's next? What's most exciting when it comes to your vision of the future and where innovation is headed in this space?
So I think that the a couple of things. The first thing is getting more data in. So the more data we have, the
Mm,
better. So obviously we're working with things like chat to get more rich data coming into the system. And then in addition to that, it's leveraging the fast changing world of AI to really enhance the value of that data, to pick up on trends before our customers even think that there may be a problem, to be able to say to them, hey, this is what's happening, this is where we are, this is where what's going. So for us, I would say that 2024 is all about adding customer value and helping them leverage their data to really get a better grip, better understanding on their businesses.
well, fantastic journey you're on. What are you looking forward to over the next few weeks? Obviously, the holidays are coming up. Are you any more travel this year planned, or you got your eye on next year?
No, I think I'm done for the year. It's been a long and exciting
I
year.
bet.
So looking forward to a little bit of relaxation. The good news for us is a lot of our offices around the world sort of shut down for this time of year. So we get a little bit, not much, but a little bit of time to focus on the things that we normally maybe wouldn't get time to do during the year.
Like this podcast. So that's lucky
Yeah,
for me. And I'll probably see you.
exactly.
You're headquartered in Florida, so you'll be at places like Enterprise Connect and the Cloud Communication Alliance events, IT
Yeah,
Expo.
absolutely.
Anything else on your radar?
Um, yeah, I'm probably going to get shot by marketing for not knowing off the top of my head, but I know we're certainly going to be at Enterprise Connect, and we have quite a full calendar for booked for next year already.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing just, a few minutes of your vision and insights, and can't wait to see what's next in this fascinating space. So thanks for your time, Ryan. Thanks everyone for watching. Reach out to Call Cabinet, doing really amazing work.
Thank you, Evan.
Okay.